this is how we play TransAmerica with the Vexation expansion, which is really the only way we really recommend playing TransAmerica. So I'm going to show you. Okay, so this box, this edition, was just TransAmerica, and then I had to purchase the Vexation expansion separately, which I did. Some editions of this game, TransAmerica or even TransEurope, will come with the Vexation expansion. If you're going to buy the game new or used or whatever, if you're going to acquire the game, and you have the option of acquiring TransAmerica with what's called the Vexation expansion, which just basically has all the Vexation expansion is, and therefore all it has is, for each of the player colors, 3 sticks in that color. So for instance, for the blue player, 3 blue sticks, and for the green player, 3 green sticks. So the Vexation expansion, if you don't have it, if your copy of TransAmerica or TransEurope did not come with the Vexation expansion, the Vexation expansion is pretty inexpensive to get because it's literally just a pack that has 3 blue, 3 green, 3 white, 3 yellow, 3 red, 3 brown, sticks of wood. Alternatively, I mean, it is cheap enough that I just would say, go ahead and just buy the Vexation expansion. If you don't have it already, if you have TransAmerica but not the Vexation expansion, buy the Vexation expansion. If you can find it somewhere, don't pay the money for it. If you can't find the Vexation expansion, your base copy of TransAmerica comes with these black, track, and they're all the same size. So you can just make the Vexation expansion by taking 3 black and painting them green, and 3 black and painting them blue, and yellow, and so forth. I mean, you might need to put like a little bit of primer coat on that so that the black doesn't, bleed through the yellow. But the point is that you can DIY the Vexation expansion pretty readily if you need to, but honestly, just go ahead and pay the few bucks to get it. But many copies of TransAmerica will come with the Vexation expansion. So get it that way if you can. The reason being is that without the Vexation expansion, I'll show you why when I do this teach here. Without the Vexation expansion, TransAmerica is not much of a game. It's almost purely luck-based without the Vexation expansion. It doesn't seem like having, 3 sticks in your player color would make a big difference to the game, but it does. So how is the game played, and why is the Vexation expansion, in our opinion, how we play, a absolutely necessary component of the game? Well, the board looks like this. And you'll notice that there are cities. Each spot is a different city, and there are 5 different colors. Orange, for the eastern seaboard, green for the western seaboard, red for the deep south, yellow for the Midwest, for the middle, for the middle of the country, I guess, and blue for the northern, for the north. Okay. Every player you're going to take all of there's going to be one destination card for each city with no duplicate. So there's one Charleston card, one orange Charleston card because Charleston. There's one orange card for each of these cities, no duplicates. Same with the yellow for the yellow, the green for the green, the blue for the blue, the red for the red, and then this is just showing start player for the round. Okay. So every round of the game, at the start of every round of this game, and I'll get to how the game ends and how the round is played, but I want to really kind of talk about this for a moment, is you're going to shuffle all of the orange cards together and give each player, so, this is, it can be played 2-player and it can be played up to 6-player. We generally will do this as a 3 to 6-player game, not as much as a 2-player game. But let's say you're doing 4 players. Then you would shuffle all the orange cities together, and every player is going to get an orange city. And then the rest will go out of the round. There's 7 total. So even in 6 players, there's one orange city that no one will have. And you do the same thing with the yellow. You shuffle them up, and everybody gets a yellow. The rest go out for the round. And you do the same for the green, the red, and the blue. So what this ends up creating situation-wise, I'm going to put these decks to a side for the moment to get them off the board so you can see the board, is everybody's going to end up with 5 destination cities, 1 in each of the 5 colors. So each of our 4 players in our 4-player scenario, each of those 4 players will have 1 orange city, 1 blue city, 1 red city, 1 yellow city, 1 green city. However, not all of those distributions are created equal. So, without the vexation expansion, if one player is just randomly dealt, like San Diego or Los Angeles, like one of these 2 greens, like this red and this yellow, they're already got 3 cities that are really close to each other, and then maybe they only need, this Winston Orange, which is directly across, and this Cincinnati, which is just a short jog up. Like if they, they've got, boom, 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 and boom. That's a pretty sweet setup, as opposed to the player who has Jacksonville, Bismarck, El Paso, Denver, and Seattle, who's having to really truly cross the entire map, or has Boston and San Diego, Portland and Atlanta, and Oklahoma or in Santa Fe or something, right? So without the vexation expansion, what we've quickly determined is that it becomes a very luck-based game, because basically the cities that you are dealt out will either be closer together than another player's cities, and therefore you have a huge advantage in the round, just randomly speaking, and there's nothing you can really do about it. And then that makes it more of a luck-based game. It makes it less strategic. The vexation expansion allows for some player blockage. So what this means is that with the vexation expansion, you have the opportunity that even if the green player has a better, starting, city, hand of city cards, than the yellow player, the yellow player can strategically place their yellow track in a way to block and slow down the progress of the green player. And the green player can likewise place their track. But it evens the playing field in that it makes it a more strategic game. Because then it's not really about who's got the best arrangement of cities. It's about who makes the best choice of where and how to play these, and how to circumnavigate other players playing these against them. Because black track is always communal. I'm going to get to how the game is played, but this is the point I'm making. Black track is all that comes in the base game. Without the vexation expansion, all you have is black track. You don't have these colors. So when there's black track, everybody can use black track, regardless of who built it. So the yellow player might have a worse hand of cities than the green player. But the yellow player still needs to build track to get to their cities. Meanwhile, the green player is able to use the black track that the yellow player spent their turns building. And the yellow player gets to use the black track that the green player spent their turns building. Sure, the difference is that the yellow player has to get to places way further away than what the green player needs to get to. So the fact that the green player built some track over here is of real no use to the yellow player who needs to get up here and here. But the reverse is not true. The green player who needs to get from here to here is taking advantage of the fact that the yellow player has to get from here to here to here to here to here. And so they have track all over the place. And green's like, oh yeah, that's convenient for, I spent some track over here. And you built some, and you yellow player, you built some black track over here. And that finishes what I need to do. And I win this round yet again, right? So because black track is completely communal, and it has to be built by all the players that are trying, because they're all trying to get to connect their cities to their hub. And every player has a hub in their color. They're trying to connect their cities to the hub. I'm going to get to that part in a moment. But because that's the situation, without this, if you just have this in the base game, you can have a situation where green is dealt a hand that is going to just basically beat yellow because yellow was dealt a shitty hand of cards and green was dealt a better hand of cards. It becomes a very just luck determined by the deal of the cards kind of game, and it's not worth playing. In our opinion, it's not worth playing at that point. Once you have these, however, now it's worth playing because it doesn't matter now. Let's say yellow and green both, yellow built some black track that everybody in theory could use, including green. And green built some black track that in theory everybody could use, including yellow. But if yellow blocks off their black track that they built with a strategically placed yellow, and green doesn't do that in as good a job, right? Then it might be the case, even though yellow's got a worse hand of city cards, like, has cities further away to get to than what green has, green might be stymied by yellow's strategic play of their track than yellow is by green's place of their track. Because now yellow can use green's track, even if it doesn't benefit them as much as they would like, because green put these things in places that didn't really hamper yellow. Versus green's like, oh, I could easily get there using yellow's tracks, but yellow really blocked me off. Because the way the vexation expansion works is black is communal. The vexation expansion says you have 3 track that is not communal. This is a competitive game, by the way. This is not a cooperative game. So you're trying to compete, right? So these green track are track that can only be used by the green player. And the yellow track is track that can only be used by the yellow player. So if yellow puts a yellow track right in the way, then green has to spend extra turns building around that yellow track to get do a detour around it. Then yellow will have to detour around green's track, but the point is now all of a sudden we have a game. Now all of a sudden this is a game worth playing. And it's a good filler to lightweight game. It fits in the 20 to 35 minute time slot. 40 kind of max, okay? Because people are like, how do I place my track to block other players, and how do I place my black track to get to where I need to go without being blocked by other players placing their track in my way, right? So it gives a strategic level to the game that was previously just more of a luck-based game. This makes it a strategic, more thinky game. Still a light game, but makes it now a game worth playing. It's a fun game, actually. To be honest, it's a fun game. We play it a lot. It comes at the table quite often. Okay, so now that we discussed that, that was a big part of this, is convince you. If you have TransAmerica or TransEurope and you got it, and it did not come with a vexation expansion, maybe you put this on the shelf and not played it again because you figured out real quickly that it's based on luck of the cards, who's going to have a better day, right? It is worth getting off that shelf if you get the vexation expansion and add that in there. Few little pieces, doesn't cost a whole lot. The whole expansion gives you all the colored pieces for all the players. I will point out that if you get the vexation expansion separately, you might run into a situation I had where black is the 6th player color, and the vexation expansion is like, well, we can't give black track because black track is communal, so they made it brown. Later editions, and you could repaint these brown, and I ought to, and I haven't, okay, but you should. Just repaint these brown so that they match this, because these pieces go with these brown track. This is the vexation expansion track for the black player, okay? But in later editions of the game that come with the vexation expansion, these are already brown. They already solved it and made this a brown player color instead of a black player color, so that the brown track, would match, okay? But we deal with the mismatch and we just don't play with the black/brown pieces if we have less than 6 players. Okay? All right. So let's talk about how the game is played. Okay? All right. So, the map, and you have people sitting around, and everybody's going to put their little cabooses. Everybody who's playing, so let's say we're just playing 4 players. Here, that is starting them at 13 points. It says 12 here, but being in here is 13. Here's 1 point. You want the most points at the end of the game. Past here, it's 0 negative points. So you're going to take 1 black track and you put it here as kind of a round marker. Okay? Now, we'll show you how scoring. I'll show you how scoring goes at the end of the round, but let me show you how a round is played. So first of all, like I said, every round you collect all of the city cards, and everybody's going to get a random card from each of the 5 colors. So we're going to do that real quick. And get the other players at the table to help you, like between rounds, to help you collect the cards, help you shuffle the cards, even help you deal out the cards. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be one person who deals out all these cards. You can have 5 separate players. One player dealing out the shuffling, dealing out the green, another player shuffling, dealing out the yellow. You just need it so that at the start of every round, each player has a green, a red, a blue, an orange, and a yellow. Okay. So then we give those out to our players, and then the first round randomly determine the start player. You can drop wood. If you are not familiar with the term dropping wood, it just means take some player pieces, shuffle them in your hand. There we go. There's our first start player, white, and then just go clockwise from there, right? But I'm going to pretend that we dropped green, and the green is going to be our first player. Okay. So at the beginning of the round, you all just take a setup turn, and in the setup turn, you're going to take your hub, which is this cylinder. So every player, all of our players, have a cylinder in their color. Okay. All right. And now I'm the green player. I'm showing you my hand. You wouldn't show your opponents your hand. And I'm like, these are the cities I need to get to, and I might arrange them in my hand. So for me to find them easier, you'll see that the cards actually show you on the map where that city is. So Houston is here, right? It's here, right? But so I might be like, oh, okay, I need to go from San Diego to Houston, Duluth, Kansas City, I might go to Kansas City before going to Duluth, maybe, and then Jacksonville, right? I might arrange the cards in my hand in that order, whatever. But the point is then I'm looking at my hand, and I'm the first player in this scenario. So I'm going to put out my hub first, and then everybody else is going to put out their hub in sequence, and then I will have the first actual real turn, okay? Well, you can put a hub on any junction, which is any crossing of line, any crossing of these lines. So that's a junction. I could put my hub there if I wanted, right? But I could put my hub in a city. Oklahoma City is the cross of the lines that go through it, right? Well, I know that I need to connect Kansas City to my hub. The round ends when a player has connected all 5 of their cities to their hub. So it counts if my hub is in that city. So I might just put my hub right here in Kansas City. Now I know I've mentally checked off Kansas City. I don't have to lay any track. I've got Kansas City connected to my hub because that's where my hub is. But I didn't have to. I could have put it here. I could have put it there. I could have put it anywhere. I would just know that now I'm not in one of my cities, so I will need to connect Kansas City via track to my hub, right? But let's say I go ahead and start in Kansas City. So because I'm starting in Kansas City, this one I know I've got done for the round. So I will need by the end of the round, track that I can travel. So track that I can travel is black track and green track. So I'll need a combination of black track and green track that goes from my hub to Duluth, from my hub to Jacksonville, from my hub to Houston, from my hub to San Diego. That's the goal. Now, hopefully I'm not having to build all of that track myself. There's plenty of black track, by the way. I didn't get out all the black track. So hopefully what I'm going to do is I'm going to take advantage of black track that other players are putting down to try to get to their own locations, and I'm going to ride their railways, right? So I'm going to build some track myself, but I'm also going to intend on using black track played by other players. I can't use, track in their specific color. That's the point of the vexation expansion. Just like the other players cannot use my green track, right? I can, they cannot. Okay, so anyway, so I put my hub based upon, where, I'm like, oh, Kansas City's kind of in the middle of where I need to go, right? From here, I'm going to go up to here, I'm going to go down here, I'm going to go over to here, and I'm going to go over to there. Okay? So everybody else places their hub, and I'm just picking some random locations for people. Okay? Doesn't matter. Okay. Comes back to me. From this point on, you're going to do real turns, right? And the real turn is that you can place 2 lines worth of track. When I say 2 lines worth, that could mean two sticks of track. This is a line. This is also a line. So for a turn, I could go here, and then I could go here. That is a track on one line and a track on the second line. 2 lines worth of track, and that is an entire turn. However, I want you to notice that there are 2 lines side by side, 2 parallel lines side by side crossing the river here. You'll see it on all the mountains and all the rivers. It takes 2 lines to cross a river or to cross a mountain, as opposed to 1 line crossing, flat areas. That means that it would take 1 entire turn to place a track across this river because this 1 piece of wood is covering 2 lines, and I can only cover 2 lines, up to 2 lines, 0, 1, or 2 lines in a turn. That's what I can do. I can pass my turn entirely, not place any track. You should never do that. I could place 1 track on 1 single line and not do a second line. Only do that if you have to towards the end of the game. Or I can place 2 lines worth of track. But that doesn't necessarily mean to track. It just means track on two lines. So two parallel lines, one piece of track that is an entire turn, or one single line followed by maybe another single line over here. I don't have to go off of each other. So I don't have to build this one off of that one. I could do that. But what you do have to do, placement rule-wise, is at the point in time that you place track, it has to connect back to your hub by legal track, meaning by black track and track of your color. You have to be able to trace a path back to your hub. So what I can't do on my turn is I can't just place this here. Why? Because this does not connect back to my hub. There is not track here that connects to my hub. So for my first turn, I'm either going to be placing one stick of wood across these two lines, and that'd be my whole turn, or I'm going to place a stick here and then maybe do a second stick over here, because if I place the first one here, then I can place one here, because now when I place this one, this is not touching my hub, but it is touching track that touches my hub. It connects back to my hub. So if I want to be technical about it, if you want to be technical on people's turns and be like, do your turn correctly, remember, we're trying to be consistent with the rules and we're trying to be fun. So don't nitpick. If people, end up doing something that ends up being legal, I wouldn't nitpick them. But technically, they can't place this before placing this on their turn. But if they just happen to do it, if they go, my turn is I'm going to do that, well, on this turn, they essentially, in essence, in reality, place this one first and then that one, and that's legal. But what they can't do is place this one with the intention of coming back on a future turn to place this one. No, this one can't be placed unless it connects back to the hub at the time it is placed, on the turn that it is placed. Okay? So, you're like, okay, well, you're telling me about black track. How do you play green track? The same way. It's just a choice. So, like, when I showed you that I could play, for my turn, I could play a single black track across these two lines, across that river. Well, that's expensive. That is one piece of track for my entire turn, as opposed to two pieces of track for my turn. So and then other people could travel across that. They could get across that river. I built the bridge, which is what that represents, or I built the tunnel. I built the bridge across the river. I built the tunnel through the mountains, and now other people are using it. So instead, what I might do is I might just decide, you know what? I'm spending one entire turn to cross this river, make a bridge. I'm going to make it a green bridge. Only I get to use that bridge. Everyone else who wants to cross this river will have to find some other place, right? So one of these other places to cross that river, right? To get from that side of the board to this side of the board, right? And that's fine. It doesn't cost any extra lines or any extra actions or extra turns to place your color track. Once you place track and you pass your turn, you knock the table and next person's turn, you can't pick up and move your track. So once you place track, it's placed. But I could have chosen to place a black track here. I could have chosen to place a green track here. I could have, for my first turn, I could have placed a black track here on one line, and then for the second line, placed a green track here. Green. My color doesn't have to be a bridge or a tunnel, right? It's just that is a common way to use those pieces. But I might go here because I might be like, hey, yellow's going to build out this way. When I want them to build through the mountain and all that for me. I'm going to hoping they do it with black track, and I'm going to use that black track once they build there, right? I want yellow to basically do this over the course of numerous turns, is do that, right? So I might have a turn where at the start of my turn, if the board looks like this, I go, oh, perfect. Let's say I needed to get up here. I didn't have San Diego, but I had one of these green cities up here. I would go, hey, Thank you so much, yellow player. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And the yellow player goes, ah, because they realize that I can now travel all the way through to here, meaning that on the next turn, I could build off of this because I can use all this track. So this connects back to my hub because it's across black track that I'm allowed to use, across green track that I'm allowed to use, across black track that I'm allowed to use. But meanwhile, yellow can only get to here. And now they have to spend a turn to go, I got to get around you, and that takes them an entire turn to do this detour so that they can get over to here, right? See how that works? So that's how the vexation expansion works, is that you just choose three times during a round, you can place your specific color track that is exclusive rights to you versus the black track that is common rights to everybody. It's just a choice. It doesn't cost you anything extra to do, okay? You're placing track either black or your color, okay? But going back to the turn sequence. So on my first turn, let's say I placed these two here, first line, second line. That's 2 lines worth of track. Done with my turn. Then, this player takes a turn, and you just keep going around. Everybody takes turns. And you just you take mental note of which of your cities are connected by legal track, meaning black track and track of your color. You don't get to count track that is other people's color. You don't get to use their track, right? And you're keeping mental count of, okay, I started connected to Kansas City because that's where my hub is. And now I go down here and I've connected to Houston, and I'm going to, these are all in your hand, by the way, right? You're playing and these are kept secret in your hand. And you're just kind of keeping mental track of, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that. Now, because black track can be used by anybody, it is possible to, let's say that the last city I needed to connect was Jacksonville. But the blue player needs to get to New Orleans, right? And so I don't, but new player, and there's this track here, and I'm connected to it, blah, 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 right? And I was going to do, something, so let's say I'm connected here, and I need to get to Jacksonville. So on my turn, I was going to go here. But blue has a turn, right? And maybe they'd already, they were already here, right? And they're like, oh, well, I need to get over here, right? Like this is blue's thinking on their turn. And they go, but I've already used maybe they've already used their blue track other places, right? So all they have left perhaps is black track to use. And blue says on their turn, well, I'm just going to take a chance and I'm going to go like this and this so I can go through. Well, the moment they put this, I stop them. And I go, thank you. Even though it was your turn, blue, you just won the round from me because what you placed connected me to Jacksonville. When you put this down here, you connected me to Jacksonville, and that was the last city I needed to get to. So the round is over, and I win that round. So you can win a round. You can stop a round by connecting your last city on your turn or on another player's turn. Let's say it was, let's say the situation was this, and it came around the blues' turn, and they intended to place 2 track. Maybe they intended to place, a track here, and then now that they'd be connected, they go to Oklahoma City because that's where they needed to go, right? So their very, very first action of the track of the 2 that they intend to place is they place this, and they're about ready to place this, and you stop them. You go, nope. You do not get to place this second track. You do not get to finish your turn and connect Oklahoma City, even though you wanted to because it was one of your cities, right? we're stopping the round because as soon as you placed this here, you connected me to Jacksonville, so it's done. So the round can end on your turn or on anyone else's turn, at the end of their turn, midway through their turn. It ends in the moment that all 5 of your cities are connected to your hub. And then we score the round. So the way we score the round is this is a lost point game, by which you start with the maximum number of points you could have in the game. We all start with 13 points. That's the maximum number of points you could end the game. So at the end of the first round, there'll be all these tracks out. Okay, I'm not going to put them all out, but just believe me, that will be the case. And I'm going to prove, I'm going to say stop the game, and I'm going to show everybody that I'm connected here, and I'm connected here, and I'm connected there, and I'm connected, I'm connected all 5 of my cities. And they all go, yeah, you did it, you beat us. My engine will not move because I do not lose any points this round. Wherever it is, so like if at the beginning in the first round, it's here at 13 points, I have retained, I still have those 13 points. I haven't lost any points. Everybody else will lose points equal to the number of lines they have left. So let's say the only thing blue had left to do was connect Oklahoma City, and they thought they were going to do that on their turn because they thought they were going to place here and then place here, and then they thought they were going to end the round. But because they placed here, they completed it for me, and I stopped them. So they didn't get to place that. So they're 1 line away from Oklahoma City. So blue loses 1 point. Let's say white needed to get Washington, and they were as far as here. So they needed 1 line here, and then 2 lines through this mountain. So that's 1 plus 2, that's 3 lines. So it's not the number of steps or even the number of tracks, it's the number of lines worth of track. 1 line, 2 lines, 3. So that's all they needed was to get to Washington, and they were here, and they connected everything else. They would lose 3 points. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Let's say yellow needed Boston, and they're 1 line away from Boston. And they needed El Paso, but they were 4 lines away from El Paso. So another 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So the first round might end like this, where I don't lose any points because I ended the round. So I connected all my cities. So therefore, I'm 0 lines away from being complete. Blue was 1 line away from being complete. 1 line on the board away from being complete. White was 3 total lines away or something from being complete. And yellow was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total lines away from being complete. So that that's why people lost points. Then you would set up for the second round. Set up for the second round is you leave the scoring engines where they are. You will move this marker up 1 because this will trigger in game, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But just know that it starts here first round, and then it moves up 1 divider line between each subsequent round. So basically, the cutoff gets shorter and shorter and shorter. So this ends up being a 2, 3, at most 4 round game. That's why it's a quick game. It's a filler-like game when people know how to play it. And then you collect everybody's city cards. You're going to reshuffle them all. Everybody's going to get for the next round a whole new set of 5 cities. That's probably not the same as the cities they had before. All the track and HUDs are going to come off the board. Player pieces are going to go back to those specific players. You're basically just going to play the whole game over again from scratch, just like we discussed, where you're going to have a setup round, and then people are going to take regular turns. The only thing that doesn't get reset is the position of these. Okay? First player will go to whoever has got the most points. So I was first player, but I also ended the round, so I'm going to retain first player. But let's say that white had been first player in the first round, but I'm the one that finished the round, and I didn't, and so I have the most points. I would get it because this is considered a disadvantage. The reason why being first player is considered a disadvantage is because they get to see where I put my hub. I don't get to see where they're putting their hub. So if they see I put my hub in Kansas City, they know I'm going to be building track around here. And they can place their hub knowing that, oh, we'll take advantage of his track around here. I, meanwhile, don't know where they're going to be placing their hub, so I don't know where they're going to be placing their track. Okay, so that's why being first player can be considered a disadvantage. But you also, have the opportunity maybe to go out before other players. And then, so that is, now, you just do this round after round until one player has lost enough points. So let's say we got through the second round, but at the end of the third round, the yellow player lost enough points. Maybe I didn't win the second round, so I lost some points, and blue stayed where they were, right, or whatever, right? Blue stayed where they were. So now, because blue won the second round and they had only lost a point in the first round or whatever, right? And then maybe I won again, and blue lost some points, or whatever, right? But at some point in time, some player is going to lose so many points that they're going to pass over this. That will be the end of the game, meaning that the end of that round was the last round. And then you just look at the points, and whoever's got the most points wins, and everybody else loses. This is second place, third place, and last place, right? And that is mostly Buffy. No. That is mostly how you play the game. Now I'm going to talk about a few other things here real quick. You'll notice that some of these cities have these dashed white lines around them. You might wonder about that, and the cards that belong to those cities also have the dashed white lines. The reason for that is that you are... One moment. I have a dog who wants to be tended to. Yes, Buffy? Okay. Just give me a minute, okay? Just wait. Okay? Okay. So the reason for the dash lines is that if you're doing a 2 or 3 player game, you're supposed to remove all of the city cards with the dash lines from the decks, so that when you deal out cards, you're dealing it from a much smaller set of cities, basically the ones that don't have the dash lines, and everybody will know. Like if you're 2 or 3 player, they'll just know, oh, nobody's got Richmond, so I can connect through Richmond, and that's not going to help anybody. As opposed to in like a 4 to 6 player game, if you connect through Richmond, but it's not a city that you need because you're just trying to get to Charleston or Winston or something, you might be doing somebody a favor by running through Richmond. But in a 2 or 3 player game, you go, oh, nobody has Richmond because it was removed from the deck before we dealt out the cards. But I'll be honest. Many times when we're doing 3 players, like I said, we don't normally play this 2 player. Buffy, one moment. Many times when we're playing this 3 player, we don't generally play 2 player, but when we play a 3 player, if we're trying to be quick with the game and not spend a whole lot of time on the setup, we won't bother removing the dash line cities, because having the extra cities even at 3 players doesn't really imbalance the game because it's even for everybody. Everybody has to worry about, well, maybe they have Richmond, maybe they have Washington, because all of these are in play, even though only 3 out of all of these are actually dealt out to players. You won't know which 3, so you don't know whether you can or cannot ignore the dash line cities. So it doesn't really break the game if you don't stop and remove the dash line cities. It just means that at the end, because you've got so many more cities and so fewer players, there's less opportunity for collision and for people just building in the direction. It's less probable. But because it can still happen, you still have to plan around it. And so it doesn't really, like I said, it doesn't really break the game, but if you've got the extra minute or two to, remove those cards from the deck before you shuffle out the cities, go ahead and do that. That's what it says to do in the rules. But you can do it right away. And that is how we play TransAmerica, exclusively with the Vexation expansion. Thank you very much.